Welcome back to the Witch's Way podcast. This is Kat.
And I'm Jamie. And tonight we're going to be getting into creating sacred spaces in our homes. A very appropriate thing to do during the winter season.
Yes.
Yep.
Indeed.
Sacred spaces are so vital for our spiritual journey because they're sanctuaries where we can reconnect with our inner selves, we nurture our own energy, and we align with the divine, which I just love saying that. Align with the divine. In a world that is just full of chaos and demands on us, these spaces help ground us. They offer us peace, and they can help us find clarity. Because when you get that moment of silence, when you're alone, sitting there in a space that you feel really good in, clarity can come through, right? Mm-hmm. The chaos and the demanding world are out there. You're here at your sacred space. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking, like, for you, Mom, what comes to mind when you think of a sacred space? Like, what's the vision that immediately pops in your head?
You know what? At this point, like, my whole entire...
I'm jealous. I knew she was going to say that.
I've now done some things right in front of my door when you enter the door. So I've got like a seasonal wreath and candles and stuff that when I light them, the whole house smells. And then just a couple steps in, I set up a whole nother, I got a mirror. In fact, I got a mirror from you with these little nooks in it.
Oh, she repurposed something of mine and did it way better than I did.
And so I decided when I hung it on the wall, because it's got like 12 like nooks that you can put stuff in, and they're good sized nooks. So when I got it up there, I was like, I know what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to switch it out for every season. I put a little altar under it, and it's the most magical thing. I mean, I already think like the rest of my house is magical.
But it's your newest edition of magical?
It's like my newest, the newest things bring me the most joy, I think, because it's like, oh, look at you, brand new to my space. I love you so much. I still love everything else. Yeah. But I think... my plant room, my lanai, or not my lanai, but my Florida room with all my plants, where I can look out the windows and see the birds and all the animals doing things in my backyard. I consider that a sacred space for me. Like, I love to start my mornings there with my coffee. And, my dog going in and out because he likes to do the in and out thing first thing in the morning. No matter how many times I take him out, he still wants to go out 5 minutes later. But, and then of course, when I really want peace and quiet, and I go in my room and I close my door, because my room is really chill, and when I turn out the lights, I've got little twinkly lights in there.
So you set a mood.
Yeah, it sets a mood, and I've got candles, and I've got witchy stuff in there, even though there's dirty laundry on the floor.
Well, we can't ignore the necessities that we have to do, It's like we're going to have a refrigerator and we're going to have sinks with dishes in them and dishwashers and whatever.
The things I wouldn't designate as sacred are my kitchen, because it's like that's just work for me. Yeah. The kitchen is just work. Yeah. All the time. It never ends. Same. Like as soon as you clean it, and then you cook something, you got to clean it again. Nobody told me it would be like this when I wanted to grow up an adult. And nobody told me that was going to happen, and that wasn't
in the book of How to Become an Adult.
Yeah, no one told me I was going to have to cook and clean for the rest of my life and make meals and think about what to eat. Anyway, that was a little off track. But what about you? What about your sacred space?
Yeah, when I think about sacred spaces, I do think about spaces where I can be alone. Because I think I need that to feel like I can connect. I need somewhere that's not busy. That doesn't have a lot of people. So I can make that outside in a park. I've done it at the beach, when it's either early morning or late at night. But I need to be able to feel safe in it. So not to be interrupted, or somebody might sneak in, or there's going to be a knock at the door, So a lot of times I will not have a lot of electronics in those rooms or in this space. I don't want them with me because I don't want the interruption. If I'm going to kind of go deep or try to connect or find clarity or just sit there and be with myself, I don't want things distracting me. So those are sacred spaces. That's what comes up for me with that. On the opposite end, it's like what feels like the most unsacred of spaces. And I think of, airports and busy shopping centers and those places. I feel all the chaos around those. And
there's so much energy there.
Yeah, then I crave that quiet, alone, peaceful corner of my house where I'm like, I could go there and journal. I could go there and do a puzzle. I could create something, but I can be with myself and not be bombarded with other people's energy.
I feel when you say that, it reminds me of why I like working remotely. Remote work has its ups and downs. For one thing, you're alone. For another thing, you're alone.
Right.
You don't have all the people that you would interact with in a workspace, and their energies and their chatter. Like I can remember being in an office and people being next door, and the one guy talked really, really loudly, and you could hear him from down the hall, and it was so annoying. It's like, well, can he shut his door? Because he'd be on speakerphone and he'd be talking really loud. Like, oh gosh. So it just made me think of that, because sometimes I'm like, I wish I worked around people.
You wish you could go into the kitchen and there'd be like coworkers there that you could chat with for a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like a social break. Yeah.
I don't get to do that anymore. But what I also don't have to deal with is, that energetically, all the people that you have to deal with in work. So if you're somebody that works in a mall or works in a really or has to spend time in a really crowded place, the sacred space may become even more important for you to create, so that you can decompress from all of that and you can get back to center. Because
that's how I think of it. Yeah. Even when, my office is probably one of my biggest sacred places for me, because nobody really stops in through there unless I invite people in and they sit there. And what I love is when people are in that space with me, they're also calmer, or, like they feel what the space holds too. And they're looking around, and then they get curious and they ask spiritual questions because they'll see some of my symbols or my books or something. And it allows them to even be invited into that space to kind of start reflecting or asking deeper questions, not just everyday chit chat. So I kind of like that, where if you can invite somebody into your space too, they can feel it,
Yeah, I do wish I had a room that was just like an office that I could close the door. My office is not. It's in an area that's out, so there's no, you can't shut off from it. But but I've got a great house. I love it.
You do,
I'm really
and you've
thankful.
done such a good job creating a beautiful space in here, which is why we always work here. This is where all the magic happens at Kat's house. So I think the first thing when we're talking about sacred spaces, the first thing to address is to plan your space. You can jump into it if you work well with that, but I feel like planning it first, deciding what you want the space to feel like, deciding what you want from the space, because you're going to be putting the things into it, and then you're going to be sitting there with the energy. So planning out your sacred space for a physical or energetic area. Your kitchen table can become your sacred space if you need it to, and that it would hold requirements that you would have. All right, I only break out my box of spiritual items when I'm alone, when I have 30 minutes to myself, when I'm first get up in the morning with my coffee. That's how I lived for a long time, because I was always around people, and I had roommates, and I had a kid, and I just, so things got put up, and then they only came out when I needed them. Being older, my child is now turning 19 tomorrow. Oh my God. I don't have to worry about that. Nobody comes in and starts messing with anything. So, I think the biggest point in planning your sacred space is making sure that you create a space that gives you the feeling that you want when you see it or when you're in it. Focus on the feeling that the space gives you as you put things in it or take things out of it, because that's truly what is, when we alter our mood, we're altering our energetic state.
Yeah, so my sacred space is like a lot of my house, because I live alone and I can do that. I can just take over
1,000 square feet or 1,200 square feet of it.
Exactly. I've got so many square feet that I could just sit down and vibe with it at any time. But if you don't have the luxury, and I do feel like this is a luxury for me, you can start small. Like you mentioned, your stuff can be at a table, but you can also use a small desk if you have a desk. I've seen some of those roll top secretary desks. Those are just like the cutest things, and then all the stuff is in there. And when you close it up, you can't tell that it's
what's in there.
You can't tell what's going on there. So to me, that would be like,
ideal.
If I had to live with other people, I would probably look for something like that, because it feels really. I feel that just the energy of that, the roll top thing, the oldness of it, the antiqueness of it, or the like old world or whatever it was. I don't know, because those things were popular like a long time ago. But a desk, a portable box, a windowsill, it can be a really small area if you don't have the space. Yeah. If you're living with You might still be living at home, or maybe you're living at home temporarily and all you have is a room.
Apartments, shared roommate situations. I've taught the granddaughters how to create little spaces on their shelves, like maybe with their books or pictures, just a little spot carved out for them. I get them crystals to go into there. And what I teach them is that, you just start with one. Like, you can find what you're attracted to. Like Tia, she knows what she likes. She loves, rose quartz. And so that's what she buys herself, and that's what I've bought for her. So I got her a pretty good size obelisk of it. And she has sent me a picture of like just this little space next to her bed where she puts out all her items that feel important to her. And you could call that her sacred space or her altar because she keeps it clean. She's designed it. She feels a way about it. You can tell because she tends to it. So yeah, a nightstand thing too. I mean, when I think about little spots in my house, I think there might be a thin line for me between an altar and a sacred space. Like I have a lot of little altars, but they're also little sacred spaces that mean things to me. So when I go and I touch them or mess with them or light the candle that's on that altar, that's a little sacred space with a purpose. I can feel all my S's, and I know I'm going to get all flubbed up here. I just can tell.
We can also go with things like you can use a wall. You could use wall art or shelves or floating altars. And so you don't have to have like a desk or a nightstand or a table or anything like that. Think outside the box.
Yeah.
I was going to try to say something about think outside the floor space that you might need because they can go up. I've got like that mirror up there that I put and I'm decorating it now is a perfect example of having something that is kind of like self-contained that hangs on a wall. It's not taking up any space.
No.
And it just looks decorative.
It does. I love that about our witchcraft items and our sacred space items is that a lot of it can look just decorative, like like you're in a season of something, you decorated for something. It looks purposeful and put together, but people don't really know. And I find that to be the most fun. I told you about the time Andrew walked in and said, "Oh, what's that bottle? That looks expensive. It's no label, this, that." And I was like, "It was just moon water." He was like, "Well, let's try some of that." I was like, "I don't think you'd like it." It's like, just moon water in an old whiskey bottle. But people notice it, but it's not so much as, it's not so telling, I guess. Yeah. I like to, when we make our sacred spaces, it could be as messy as I'm going to use the word messy, as my bathroom counter. Like it's very small. I have a very small bathroom counter space because we have individual his and her sinks. Because I didn't want that long sink so our messes could overflow into each other's spaces. I was like, nope.
You really do have no space.
Because I don't want a lot of shit up there. Like that really bothers me when people have everything all over their fucking counters. Like, oh, it stresses me out to see it. Like I can't. It's stressful to me. I don't know why. So for my little area, it's like I pick a soap color that makes me feel happy, I use a certain kind of wood for the physical soap holder. So it's very small and very intentional. But then when I do my little routine, I go in an actual
clockwise.
Other way.
Counterclockwise.
Counterclockwise. Widdershins. And I go in that order because I'm coming back to like how my morning was where I woke up fresh. I'm trying to go back to that space. So my toothbrush and toothpaste are here, and then it goes, the face wash, then it goes the lotion over here. And so that's the way that I put on or do the things. But I don't like a lot of shit on my counters. So.
Well, and a lot of people clutter on counters. Clutter in general can be stressful.
Yeah. Yes.
Really stressful.
So thinking about that bathroom counter thing is like I have a sacred space, but it's already part of my regular routine. Like I'm going to brush my teeth and put on my deodorant and put on my, night cream and the lotion for whatever and Neosporin for any cuts that I got from the garden that day. Like I have that set up to where this is my little routine. This is the time when I'm, winding down thinking about what am I going to dream about tonight? I go through this little ritual of my night.
So that's a really good example of incorporating into your routine.
Yes, definitely. Like find something you already do. Next to my coffee, I have my cinnamon that, that's what I put in my coffee to set an intention with that. So if you can add things to a sacred space where your routine and your habit already exists, and then you're just adding a little element of your spirituality, a little element of your practice can go into that. And you find, 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes to be there with that setting. I keep saying, I don't know why. I think I'm losing my words.
So if I think we already touched on this, but if you don't have privacy, like you have roommates or you live at home or you have kids and cats or
anything that wants to mess with your stuff.
You can create portable spaces with boxes, baskets, a pouch that can be stored and set up temporarily when you have alone time. So you can always pull them out, put them away like you did. You mentioned that you did that.
Yep. I had to do that for a long time because I didn't have the space. I didn't want people in the things, I just didn't have the freedom to have it out and about and trust that it was going to be okay. That's it. Especially in the military.
And if you can also communicate boundaries to your family or housemates, why this stuff is important to you, and ask for them to respect and support your stuff, your spaces,
your items,
you
I think that's what the girls have done with their boyfriends. The boys understand that the girls have crystals and things and maybe a tarot set and a candle, and this is all special to them. And they're like, nope, that's her stuff. I think I've told you about times where my husband sees something and it's just trash or it's just an empty container and he doesn't touch it, and I ask him, like, why didn't you grab that? He's like, I don't know what you got going on in there. So he just assumes that anything could be part of magical workings and just won't get rid of it, unless it's his trash or his container or his something. He's like, I don't touch it. I don't know.
Too many things come into the house that look like that. Maybe he was like, what is that?
I know. He's like, what is that for? Yeah. So that's kind of funny, having somebody who respects those things.
So, one of the things that can happen to us, especially when we first start out and we start exploring witchcraft and we start really getting into it, is it's really common to be on social media and see all the stuff that's there and then want that. I know when I started, that's how I thought. I was like, oh, look at that. I want a space just like that. I want all those apothecary jars and all that stuff. But your space is just for your space. So don't judge your space against what you see other people doing. You don't have to have a lot of expensive things or to create sacredness. Remember that it's that sacred space is for you. It's not for Instagram.
I love that. I love hearing that because I do have a lot of witch friends that they're like, girl, you should photograph this. You should put this out there. You should, and I see that. I'm like, I could see how this would be appealing to some people, but I still want to keep my space. Like, I love people I know to come in and see it, but to put it all over my Instagram, like my personal one, no, never going to happen. Not doing it because it's mine. I'm like, it's just for me. It's for me to know about. It's not really a thing that I want other people to like it and comment and thumbs up it or whatever people do. No, don't need that.
Yeah.
I want it to be for me.
I get that.
Yeah. The progress over perfection part. Remember, when you're starting out, you don't got to buy everything at once. I think that's, again, what Kat says. When we see social media, it's like, how did they get all those things? Most of the pictures or the areas that you see that people have set up, they've been building that space for 10 plus years. When you have that much stuff.
That's true.
Rarely do people go out and buy everything on the same day to create that space and that look. It's just, you just don't really...
It's not realistic. And
it's not impossible, but it's not realistic.
It's not realistic. For one thing, you'd have to find everything. And I know it's taken me time to find the things and incorporate things into my space. Yeah. When we redid this, my dining room, that was a whole thing that took, a couple months? Couple weeks or a couple months?
Couple months, because we had to find the colors that, Kat was looking for. And what I love, which we're going to get into, is, then you started finding things around your house that you already had that actually fit with it. It just needed to be rethought. And I love that part. Repurposing things. Yeah.
So you can just start with a few things. Like you mentioned, the girls. Jamie's got step granddaughters, I guess you would call them. I don't even know. Anyway, her husband's granddaughters. And they're young. And she's given them little
early
things
20s,
and exposed them to all of her witch stuff. And so they have their own little, on their nightstands.
Their little altars and stuff.
Little altars.
They have things that feel important to them. Sometimes when they're here, we'll go into crystal shops and things, and so they'll get it, and it'll be like a memory of the time we went to St. Pete and, you know, hung out and all of that. Mm-hmm. So I like to say that, you know, limit what you get. Don't just get shit to get shit. Like, make it meaningful. Yeah. And you got to make those moments. So seek out, like when we went to Sedona, like we already all knew, we had sort of a shopping list in our head of like, what would we bring back from Sedona that we can add to our space? And you're not going there and buying a whole shelf's worth of stuff. No. But you're going to go there and pick out one or two really the items that you feel most connected to. Yeah, like something you're like, oh man, I've looked for this before and I've never really found it in person. That's what I've come up with, because I see things that look amazing, but I want them to be all meaningful. Otherwise, you walk into a space and you're like, look at all the shit I bought that doesn't have a meaning, that has no memories with it, that doesn't, you know, that I just collected for the sake of collecting. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I would also say follow your intuition and your instincts. When you're planning your space and you're thinking about what you're going to get for it and why you want it there, this is uncovering part of what you want your practice to be, what you want your focus to possibly be. What tools do you want to use when you're sitting down to reconnect, to get clarity, to energize yourself? For us, I know we all started off with tarot cards. I mean, anything tarot is a big deal. So,
and I've been collecting hearts like for the longest time. Yeah. So anytime I see a heart, and especially, I just found one at the beach that was a kind of a rock/shell. I'm not really sure what it was made of.
Did you show me that yet?
No, but I will.
Oh, yeah, after this.
Up there on that shelf.
I want to see it.
But I was sitting at the beach and I looked down and I saw what appeared to be half of a heart. And so then I picked it up and it was actually a whole heart. And I was like, I just really felt like the universe was delivering that to me at that moment when I was there. And I took it home and now it's on one of my shelves. So choose items, you know, trust your instincts when you're picking things instead of just buying stuff because you saw it on somebody else's Instagram. It's like, that looks so cool. Pick stuff, follow your instincts, and trust your instincts to bring things into your space, to guide you to bring things to your space that mean things to you.
Yeah, that have a meaning for you or give you a feeling of something.
Yeah, and I just want to say, if you get stuff and you end up not liking it, like I did a lot of thrift store shopping when I first came here. Mm-hmm. And I went through stuff, you know, like I'd bring stuff home and then I'd sit with it for a while and I was like, yeah, I don't think so. And it would go back to the thrift store. It's okay.
She rented it for $5.99 for about a month and then returned it.
I really did because I wasn't, you know, I thought when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's so cool. And then I got it home and I was like, but in my space, it didn't feel like,
you didn't connect to it.
I didn't connect to it. So it's okay if you get stuff and then you're like, don't feel like you got to keep it either. You can always, you know, give it to somebody else, send it off with a good wish that, you know, it'll end up in someone else's house who really does connect with it and really feels that connection to it. So
I think it's good that we say you choose items that have the aesthetic that you're looking for, but also have that also have a spiritual purpose, you know, like a beautiful candle or a functional box, not just any box. Mm-hmm. I'm the worst with that one. I used to get boxes from Goodwill, I guess because I was like a box witch for the longest time, right? All my shit was kept in boxes. And you know, these decorative like craft boxes and stuff. And so now when I see them as wood ones, I'm always like, ooh, I want to paint this. I want to make it awesome and store my stuff. After I had about 6 of them and it had been years and I never did anything, I was like, all right, well, I rented this long enough. Back to the Goodwill store it goes, or, you know, Salvation Army or whatever. So I think picking it for its aesthetic, but also making sure that it has that spiritual purpose for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now that we've addressed planning our sacred space, let's jump into how to create one in our own homes, which we've been talking about.
If that could be a business, I would professionally help people create sacred spaces in their house.
Fun?
Oh, that's why the feng shui thing for me is so much more about the spiritual and the sacred than it is like the modern feng shui, all, you know, nothing in your home.
So you bring up feng shui, so that's a really good thing to note, like to pick the right space. And feng shui can help you with that. If you don't know anything about feng shui, a really good book that we like is Astro Feng Shui by Simone Butler.
She's awesome. She writes good books.
And that's just a great book to have to kind of know how to set up your house for flow and where certain things belong, if you will, according
energetically.
Energetically, and how you can help energy flow by using feng shui and understanding how your house and even if you don't have a house, it could be your bedroom.
Just your room. Your desk can even be feng shui.
So you can feng shui pretty much anything.
Any area. Any area.
So choosing a location and setting an atmosphere, incorporating elements that appeal to your senses, like, oh my gosh, smells. Are you kidding me? Smells are probably my favorite thing. With candles, I have so many candles, and I'm always buying candles, and I'm starting to burn them a lot. I used to just buy them, and then I didn't want to burn them because I didn't want to use them up because I liked them so much. And now I'm like, just burn the thing and then get some more. So now I'm buying a lot of candles and I'm burning a lot more.
And you do that a lot because you like the scent of it?
I love the scent. Yeah. Yes. So the scent really appeals to me, but also, the other thing is like sight, like soft lighting, or like I have little twinkle lights over my bed.
I know, I love that. You're a grown woman that has
I have twinkle lights, and then they're behind sheer curtains. So when you turn out the light, it's a nice glow, isn't it? Really, really, I really, really love that. Sound is another thing for your atmosphere, like background music. So this is in your space. If you've got your space, background music, sound bowls, or silence, which is my favorite.
Silence is your favorite?
I think so. I'm not one to have on... I like the quiet. I don't know why, but I do. Yeah.
I have a lot of YouTube videos saved that are different... oh my gosh, I told you I'm losing my words today. Like the hertz for different things.
Oh, I love
and so,
those.
I have them marked. So, depending on what project I'm doing, it's like I turn on that music in the background and it just fades away from me. I don't, when I'm doing certain intensive work, when I'm thinking through things, when I want to be really productive and like stay focused, I have those things saved. And that's just one tool that I use to change the energy of the space. When I need to be like, okay, we're setting this intention with this music, I light one candle, or I do sage or an incense. I do have some incense that I like, but I'll only burn one of them because for me the smell gets overpowering and distracts me.
Incense is really strong.
Yeah, they can overpower. So what I do is I light them in another room, and then have it go through the whole house because you can smell it in the whole house.
Yeah, I'm not an incense user because it's really overpowering. Yeah, to me. But
the candles are nice.
The candles are nice and they're delicate. Yeah. The scents are, you can even, I have 3 candles going now, and so they're kind of all in the same fall theme, like one's cinnamon, and one's something else. I can't remember, but all 3 of them are going. They go together, so I'll light those and just fill the room with that smell. It's really, really nice. My favorite fall smell is white pumpkin, which I don't even know what the fuck that's supposed to mean because pumpkins ain't white. But I have a white pumpkin up there on that shelf, but of course it's not you have an actual white pumpkin? No, of course not. But like a decor white pumpkin. A decor white pumpkin. Yeah, but what is the scent white pumpkin? What does that even mean? What does it smell like, white pumpkin? Delicious. I don't know. It smells like a baked good, I guess. I bet they put vanilla in it then. Maybe it's like vanilla pumpkin, but they wanted to be more creative. They're like, no, we're going to call it white pumpkin. Okay. Yeah, I bet it's vanilla. Or one of these. Now when I go home and smell it, I'm like, is it vanilla that I've just been missing because I'm focused on the pumpkin spice? Vanilla's a wonderful smell. Yeah. So let's see. Let's talk about decluttering. Yeah, because when you're creating your atmosphere, definitely the energetic decluttering and the real decluttering are important. So the decluttering is like if you buy stuff or you have stuff and you're not using it and you're just like storing it, get rid of it. Yeah. Give it away. Have a 1-year rule. A 1-year rule. If you haven't used it in 1 year, let it go. So a good thing you can do is pack it away, label the box. Put a date on it. And if you don't get back to it and a year later, then you're like, I just put that stuff in there a year ago and I have not looked at it, thought about it, anything. Well, that means it's stuff that you don't need. It's just taking up space and energy. Yeah. Yeah. Because when you see it, when we see our stuff packed away and we know we're storing stuff and it's things we haven't used, our minds start to spiral into all the things like,
oh, I haven't gotten into that. Oh, why haven't I used that yet? Oh, I should get rid of that. So energetically, it actually pulls you away from the sacredness of the space where you're looking for the quiet and the connection. And it's pulling you into the past and into this future worry of like, I have this box of shit I need to deal with.
I
letting stuff go is good.
I find cleaning out stuff and just giving away things that I don't really care about. It satisfies my soul. It really does.
Yeah, to let go of it.
Yeah, just to know that I can let go. Because there was a time when I didn't want to let go of anything. You know, I held on to it because it was like a security thing, or it's like, look at the stuff I got.
Yeah, stuff made us feel like we achieved something. Yeah, because we had more.
Yeah,
and that happens when you grow up not having a lot. Is all of a sudden your house is full of stuff and you're like, holy fuck, I've made it. Look at all, I'm wealthy in stuff, you know. I'm wealthy in a full closet of clothes and 1,500 shoes. And that is so overwhelming for me. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Lastly, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say something about to clean it. So clean out your stuff physically, clean. Give away or donate or
offer it to others.
To other people. You might ask your family first if they want it. I gave something away and I shouldn't have, and then when my family found out, they're like, "What? You gave that away? You didn't even ask us first?" I was like, "Oh shit, I'm so sorry." Tisk. So if it's something good, you might want to ask people that you know to see if they want it first before giving it to the Goodwill. But also, the other thing you can do with your space is to energetically clear it with a ritual like burning sage or Palo Santo or. Did I already say that? I didn't say that, did I?
That was setting the atmosphere.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, that's part of this. Setting the atmosphere is cleaning it, not just. You know, you can burn the candles because you are inviting something into the space, but you can also burn the candles, have the music, ring the bells to energetically clear it at the same time. It's all about the intention when you light it and say, what am I doing with this right now? I burn this candle so that I am setting the atmosphere, I'm setting the energy of the room, or I'm burning the sage because I need to clear out all the old negative energy of this space and refresh it.
And so that's a really good point about intention. What's your intention? So set your intention when you do that, like as you clear the space with sound or smoke or whatever you do. Visualize releasing any negative energy and inviting peaceful and sacred energy into that space.
Yeah. I like to tell my team of light, which is who I think works with me on the other side, I like to tell them that this is now my new space and here's what we're going to be doing. And so I kind of like give them a memo of like, all right, here's the new office space, guys. This is where we'll be doing our work from now on. And so that when I invite them, it's not new. It's almost like I've already set the intention for what I'm going to use at this desk, with this candle, with this, whatever. That's how I set the intention within the spaces that I work in. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm.
I love that.
It makes me feel like I'm showing up for them the same as they're showing up for me. If I tell them like, this is where we move to now. Like I used to have a whole bedroom, and now when we were at the other house in Palmer Ranch, I had a whole entire bedroom dedicated to everything. And I downsized from that because it was excessive. And a lot of stuff I had it for seasonal change out. I'm like, I'm not decorating a whole house anymore because I'm with my husband. We're keeping it kind of neutral. So at the new place, making the office, which is a smaller area, but just as important, I went from floor to ceiling with my decor to, because it's a very small little area, and I'm like, this is going to be mine forever. This is my space of working in my spiritual things and storing my stuff forever. So I just let them know that, like, when I'm down here in this area working, this is our goal, guys. Yeah.
And you have lots of personal touches in there.
So many. Yeah. Well, I've been doing this a long time, so it's easy to accumulate that, I think. Everything has a story behind it.
Have you found that you've gotten rid of some things over time?
Yes.
Some things
homemade things, especially when I made a lot of my first tools and storage stuff, and at one time I even made a lot of book covers for my books because I just didn't want people to know what they were, so you like wrap them in cute wrapping paper type things. And over time, all that's changed in the way that I organize or store. And then I think the biggest thing that changes is how much goes on display and how much stays hidden. you know, and being comfortable with that, having things with actually the word witch on it all over the place, or quotes or sayings or anything, you know, because this is my spiritual beliefs being put up on a wall. And sometimes I don't want the whole world to know, or anybody who passes through this room, right? So I would keep all this stuff hidden. Now it's like I invite people to ask me about it. That's more of the space, because I'm in the teaching witchcraft job now for this part of my life, and I'm very comfortable with that. Whereas before, it's like, this is a thing I only discuss in private with people that I can trust, and, you know, let them in on all the things. And
so I just have to, I'm reminiscing a little bit mentally here, because when I moved here in 2019, in the summer of 2019, I stayed at Jamie's house with her and her husband while I looked for a house to buy. And the space that is now her floor-to-ceiling witch room, office, sacred space, was an empty space that they weren't using. And I actually used it first I needed to work from home, so I set up an office down there. And, you know, I just had I had a desk and a chair and a bookshelf for all of my stuff. And so I worked in that room in this little space for like 6 months. And when I left the Kalex, the big Kalex, and the desk and the chair, and I took everything with it. So I'm thinking of the transformation from that to where you are today, which is, I mean, it's
insane, right?
Where was all the stuff that, you know, where did you have all that set up before?
No, it wasn't. It was,
you didn't have a space, did
no,
you?
it was still in boxes.
Oh,
you know, so
okay.
I hadn't figured out how will I have my space at my house, at my new house, because we'd only moved in there 4 years ago. And I still hadn't claimed a space for me, you know, because we have a lot of family coming in. So I had a spare bedroom. Cameron lived in his room. Our house is very open, very neutral, the way that I decorated it. It's, you know, yeah, it's like, where would I set that up at? And so originally I had an area in the basement that was usually where my witch stuff is. All my craft stuff is too. And I'm a fucking hoarder of crafting stuff. Like, I have way too much. But, you know, I hadn't found a comfortable space for that yet. A lot of the work that I did was outside. So I had the bags or the boxes and the little, you know, kind of like the shoe boxes, things where I knew, okay, this is my Samhain or my Yule box. And I would go out there and set up a small altar for that could be where I did my workings. But it was a lot of put it out, take it down, and pack it away. That got exhausting real fast. So there were many seasons I skipped doing anything. So I was like, I can't. I'll just read tarot. I'm done. That's the most I got into. I was like, I'll journal and do tarot. That's it. You know, spells took me a long time because I had to dig everything out. All the rocks that I have, you know, the different containers for them, like creating a vibe for me, which is really important to set my mood. Yeah, it's difficult. But you're right. That room went through huge transformation.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It really did. I had this flashback of that room when I took a picture of it when I left.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm leaving the space better than I found it, because there was nothing in there when I got there. You guys weren't using that space at all. When
we saw the house the first time before we bought it, I think there was a treadmill down there.
Oh.
Or something. Not that the guy used it. See, I don't even think that's right. I think I'm picturing things that I thought could have gone there. But the walls were fucking filthy from a certain height all the way down. So I think that there was a desk down there, and the kids, because he has 2 small kids, they used to put their feet on the wall when they would be sitting at the desk doing something. I don't know. But it was just a very dirty, dark room with terrible lighting, and you know,
and now it's like the most magnificent witchy little space you've ever seen.
At the bottom of the stairs, yeah.
Under the stairs.
Under the stairs, bottom of the stairs.
Under the stairs.
Yeah,
because her desk is tucked under the stairs.
Well, that's because I want it facing south, you know, so like that's the area that faces south for putting your desk. Again, feng shui type things. Yeah.
So seasonal.
All the personal touches that you can get.
All the personal touches.
Yeah.
Rotating things out for the seasons. You know, keeping it fresh.
Refreshing it.
And decluttered. And
dust it, y'all. This was one of my problems. I didn't dust mine. If I left things there too long, that's why I always say refresh it every month, every season, zodiac sign. Pick something to refresh it. You refresh it every full moon or every new moon. But by refresh, it means come in, wipe things down, move them around, recharge what your intention is with the space, you know. It's a good thing to do. That's how we feed energy to our spaces, to make them feel good when we walk into them. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, if you have financial limitations, like you're maybe just starting out, you can just use like everyday items. So we already talked about don't go out and buy a bunch of stuff, and you don't need to have an Instagram ready sacred space.
It's not for Instagram.
You can use things as simple as like, I'm always collecting things from nature, rocks and feathers and things like that, pine cones. That was the thing that I brought back from Sedona. I brought a pine cone, a piece of rock, red rock, and then a stick like this, about 3 or 4 inches. It looks like a tiny wand.
Yeah, it was the one we found when we were near the vortex, right? When we were walking.
When we were on the vortex. Yeah, I got all of that when we were up on the mountain, and it just all those. I didn't want to take a lot, but I wanted something to come back with me from that trip, and I still have all of that.
Technically, it was trail debris, you know? It's like things that it was underfoot.
So if you don't have stuff, you can start with simple things. You can just start with things from nature. You could pick flowers from your garden or you know, there's even weeds that have pretty flowers on them that you can bring in. Feathers, rocks, pretty rocks, seashells, coffee mugs, you know. It's
whatever you like, you know? Do what you're attracted to. Like, I think that was something that I've had to let go of a lot of just random ass rocks I pick up, and I put them back in my yard. I'm just like, well, you know, you went from here to here and now you live in my garden. But you find, okay, so right now, you know, we're cleaning out Judy's house. So I was going through one particular cupboard and I found a single rock in a plastic bag, and I was thinking, what the fuck is this rock for? Where did it come from? Why does she have it? I have no idea. Because my mother-in-law is not a witch woman, you know, she's very Christian. And I told my sister, I was like, this is the kind of shit you guys are going to find if I pass, you'll be like opening drawers and be like, what the fuck is this in this bag? Like, what is this even? It doesn't have a special meaning to it. Where did it come from? Because it doesn't have anything written on it. So then I go to the next cabinet and I find a whole baggie full of these same like polished round rocks. And in them, now I see it's from jars that had flowers in it, and that was the weight that went in them. So I feel much better because now I know, these are just store-bought rocks. They don't mean anything. Oh, but at first, it was kind of like, I need to take this rock to Judy and be like, Judy, what's this rock mean? Why is it in a plastic bag? What do you want me to do with it? You know? Yeah. No. So thinking about what we decide is sacred for us and what represents, maybe if you want to work with the elements, you know, I mean, what represents earth, fire, air, and water for you? Just those little representations to bring in balance and harmony and connection with nature and the cycles. Yeah.
So once you have your space set up, then it's time to use it intentionally to cultivate the sanctuary that you have created. You can create daily practices that just are small and simple. I used to stir my coffee in the morning with intention. I would sit out on when I first got here, my lanai, I tried to turn my lanai into a really sacred space. I had like twinkly lights out there and I had sheer curtains. And I'll tell you something about outside space. It does not stay clean very long at all. And that stressed me out so bad because I had all these plants out there. And I would go out there and sit in the morning, and I absolutely loved it. I would write in my journal, or I would read a witchy book, and I would drink tea, and it would be a space that I would go and relax. And then I would look around, and I'd look in the corners, and I'd see that the plants were, because I had like a lot of plants in there.
And they looked amazing, you guys. First off, she thought she had a black thumb, and she doesn't.
I don't. It turns out I don't have a black thumb.
Her lanai was lushier than mine.
It really was. And so, but then I would look down, and I would see like the leaves falling on the ground, and they'd be stuck in the corner, and then the dirt, because it's outside, so it's literally, it's screened in, but it's outside, and that collects a lot of dirt. And I just got to where I was like, oh my god, right now it's a complete mess after the hurricane. But the first thing that happened was I lost all my plants because one of the hurricanes blew the whole damn plant stand over, and it just tumbled it onto the ground, and everything broke, and I was just like, oh my god, I just can't with this.
The chore.
The chore of it. But I guess I'm getting a little bit off track when we talk about creating daily rituals. I'm thinking about when I first moved here, and the lanai used to be my place that I would go out first thing in the morning. It was just such a lovely space. But that's like, drink your coffee there, drink your tea there. write in your journal. These are things that
morning
you can
meditation.
do morning meditations. These are little daily practices that are small and simple that you can do in your space to use it as a sacred space. Tarot card reading used to be one of the things I did like all the time. I'm kind of going back to tarot card reading now. I just did that the other day. We just did it last night.
We did it last night.
I go through phases where I'm reading a lot and then I'm not reading.
What?
I was just thinking about how keeping it clean can be a challenge. Like the lanai turned out to be a challenge for me to keep it clean.
Yeah, it was too much.
It was so much dirt in there, so much dust and sand and all that stuff that it didn't make me feel very
centered, grounded, and peaceful.
Yeah, no, it didn't. It wasn't a peaceful thing. So I gave it up. I actually gave up that space.
That's a good thing to note. Is if you create a sacred space and you're trying with it and it's not fucking working out, it's okay to move it. You don't have to. That doesn't have to be like the one and only.
Yeah.
And
don't force it.
Even in feng shui, you can have sacred spaces that are within different energy areas, and you just work around that. You create something that's. You can make it work for any area of your house, basically. Any of the energetic areas that they have. It doesn't have to be in the spiritual, corner of your house. It doesn't have to be. I tried that. That's my fucking guest room, and that got really hard to try to keep it together while I had guests in and out of there all the time. That room was not very spiritual for me. It was more of a chore room. It's like I have to come in and strip the bed and do all the laundry and then put it all back together for the next guest that'll be coming in a month and so I needed something that was more accessible for me that other people didn't need to use. And that's why my office really became like the thing where I focused it on. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have to spend time cleaning and picking up plant mess and dusting and trying to get the dirt that blows in or whatever, like having people go through your space where there's always someone there.
Different energies coming through.
Did you ever feel like you needed to clean it energetically after people left?
All the time, yeah. But I always invited people to burn the candles while they were there. There's certain crystals in there that help absorb anything that's negative that the people might bring in, because I don't ask them about all their fucking problems and what they're thinking about at night and like did they have good dreams or bad dreams in there. It's just I used sort of a crystal grid to keep the space working the way that I felt like it should, inviting and comfortable, but also, not letting people overstay their welcome, making sure that they are leaving, so having the bed facing the door, so feet out. It's like, and we're not going to get stuck here. We're going to keep that energy flowing right out the door. Just doing small stuff like that to keep it going, but I couldn't revisit it when I needed to. So say I needed to go in and get things from that shelf that had my spiritual items on it. I had somebody staying in there, and it felt awkward for me to invade the space that I lent to them to now go in and like, hey, I need some of my shit out of here.
Yeah.
I just it didn't work for me.
Yeah. So, when that stuff comes up, just when you have to move around or whatever you have to do, however you work through setting up your space and then figuring out, this corner works, that doesn't work, my line doesn't work.
The maintenance with it.
That part doesn't work, and then moving it. Just make sure to be gentle with yourself, and it's okay to move it and shift things in your life. You're not bound to anything other than what you feel that you are.
When I think about sharing the space with others, buying the right furniture can really help. Like, I've bought a lot of used furniture because that's just who I am. And having things that can close up and close off, nobody's looking in them, you know? So things with doors always helped me kind of, I don't know, you're sharing the space, but you also have, like, inside of a cupboard is just yours.
Remember that everybody deserves to have space for peace and healing, no matter their level, no matter where they are in their life. So find your space. Focus on what's meaningful to you and not worrying about anything external, any external standard.
Yeah.
And embrace the imperfection. Your space is a reflection of your journey, and it can grow and evolve just like you.
I love that. Whose space doesn't grow and evolve with them? We were just talking about the office. evolving and growing.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
Creating a sacred space is not just about designing a beautiful corner of your home. It's really not. That is a benefit to it, but it's not the purpose, okay? It's about creating an environment where your soul feels nurtured and safe. That is what's really important. You can start small and just honoring your intuition of what you think you want to bring in. And again, you're not stuck with it. Try it out. You can give it away if it doesn't work. But remember, your home's a reflection of your energy. So if there's chaos in your house, there's chaos in your heart and in your soul. Like you're having things that are not quite put together. So treat it with love and care. That's the be gentle with yourself. We love you guys so much, and we hoped that talking about sacred spaces really help you. We want to thank you so much for being here with us. This is podcast, what number?
I don't know.
We're like 18. We're getting ready to be to 20, which is just crazy. So thank you so much for joining us. And until next week, we really hope that all your spaces feel sacred and that your spirit always feels at home.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye, witches.
Bye, witches.